The double sound cue. Aloha, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to PWT Talks NXT. And hold on, because
Kelly's got
I
the
had
stream
YouTube
open
open.
twice.
I had the YouTube open. Haven't done that in a while, and I always make sure not to do it. Okay, today is the birthday of a very special blonde girl in my life, my sister.
I thought you were
And
going to say Sol Ruka.
I know that's why I set it up the way I did. But I have not. I haven't said anything to either one of them yet. I must have written 15 checks at work today. I write more checks than anyone in the world, since checks are kind of a thing of the past. But I wrote a lot of checks at work today, and so I had many opportunities to say, "Oh yeah, right. I got to call Allie on my way home." Drove home. I got a 30-minute drive. Just didn't think of it. So texted her real quick, and then NXT thumbed its nose at me by saying, "Hey, this girl who looks vaguely like your sister, it's her birthday, so you should be focusing on that and not this." Okay, so main event: Lola Vice and Sol Ruka and Zarya versus Fatal Influence. Pretty obvious stuff here, other than the fact that they have decided to turn the Fatal Influence bickering into Jasmine Nix standing up for herself and probably being the one turning face while the other two remain heel. It seems like they played around with what they wanted to do for weeks with splitting up this group, and it just seems like as of this week, it's going to be Jasmine who's going to be blamed for this finish. That she is going to turn on the group. Now, she had to do a little bit of mic time on her own, and she's still kind of shaky there, even though she's not shaky in the ring. And I don't know. Fallon, I just like as a heel so much. And JC's just JC. I really think she came off as a champion here. I'm not sure that's a better story than her being like more of a chicken in there and the beatable champion who just does whatever she can. I think that might be a better way to go. And Ryan Solorio says Lacey Lane going to replace Jasmine. Lacey Lane.
Laney Reed.
He's got to be Laney Reed, right? Lacey Lane was she was the woman who became
she was not Katana Chance. Kaden Carter.
Yeah, Caden Carter. Thank you. Yeah, that's Lacey Lane. Okay, so Fallon Henley gets pinned by Lola Vice. You knew Vice would win this to set up what's going on with her. Vice is going to be the next challenger. They really wasted no time in finding who these next challengers were going to be. We've been wasting a lot of time on TV leading up to things like, let's say Heat Wave. But we got Lola Vice and we got Ricky Saints real quick, and they have a whole month to promote that stuff. 4 more weeks of TV before that Sunday. So Fatal Influence loses as per usual, and Lola Vice gets a win on the way to doing whatever she's going to do in about 30 days, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense for her to get the win. You know, she got the win the other day at Heat Wave. It was that was a win that I didn't quite expect to see coming. I talked about it with Jobin, and Jobin, thank you for letting me know my mic was wrong. I had the wrong mic set right now. But you know, we talked about Jobin and I talked about it the other day. Lola Vice. It seemed I kind of had Jada Parker as the one to win that triple threat. We had Kalani Jordan in there as well. That's who Jobin kind of had, and we gave Lola Vice a little, kind of small percentage a chance to win, figuring she's doing stuff with AAA. She doesn't need a title shot or anything right now. She's got other things going on. But she won. Clearly, they think she does need a title shot right now with everything she's doing AAA, and she might even be potentially the one to dethrone JC Jane. It wouldn't surprise me. I was thinking about that a little bit during this match. she gets the win here over Fallon, pinning Fallon Henley, which I will circle back to in a moment. So she can claim she's pinned somebody in Fatal Attraction, or Fatal Influence. I'm always going to call it Fatal Attraction. She's pinned somebody in Fatal Influence, and now she has even more claim to the title. And we'll see. We'll see if she winds up taking it. It wouldn't surprise me. That way they can bring the NXT title down to AAA and things like that. It's already gotten some exposure on TNA, so why not get some exposure on AAA too? That's kind of my thinking. But we'll obviously see where that goes. JC, she might still have a little bit left in the for as time as champion here. I mentioned Fallon Henley being the one to take the pin. I think this was a kind of a good storytelling device. Earlier in the night, Jasmine Nick said she wanted to be the one to challenge for the Speed title, since she hasn't won a title yet out of everybody else in Fatal Influence. She's the only one that hasn't won, so she wanted to be the one to bring some more gold back to Fatal Influence with the Speed title, challenging Sol Ruca for it now that it's part of NXT. And JC and Fallon were like, no, it's not going to be you. It's clearly going to be Fallon. Now Fallon wound up losing tonight. Maybe Jasmine Nix, you kind of claim, well, hey, you lost last week. I'm going to be the one to take on Sol Ruca, and I think that's going to kind of further the story of the breakup between at least Jasmine Nix, or the breakup from Jasmine Nix from Fatal Influence. Ryan earlier in the night said, Lacey, not Lacey, said Lacey Lane, I think meant Laney Reed. Maybe Lady Reed takes her place, her being Jasmine Nix. I didn't think about that, but now that that is out there in the ether in my brain, I kind of like that, and it would make sense considering Reed's kind of she's been in the periphery of Fatal Influence now for a handful of weeks, kind of meddling in their business. So it wouldn't surprise me if she winds up joining up with them if and when Jasmine Nix bows out. But it's fun match. Like I said, makes sense for Lola Vice to get the win, and we'll see where they go with her potential title reign, if that's where they go.
All right. Let's go to the crossover match, which was born out of the opening segment. Ricky Saints going and talking and doing his thing. Josh Briggs talking him down. And Ricky said that Josh looked like Sid from Toy Story. And Josh took that in stride and said, whether it's Sid or Briggs, I'm going to kick your ass right now. Ava, of course, made the match and said that this is the number one contenders match. That was the other long match in this show, 12 minutes and 40 seconds. Ricky Saints taking down Josh Briggs. Honestly, I think it's time for Briggs. I do. I just think that he's doing such good things as a big man heel. I know that Saints just has such popularity surrounding him. I think the work is fine. I think he's fine. And I wish I thought more than that, but I just kind of think that's what it is. But that he will get the reaction, the positive reaction. But is that what you want? I just feel like what they should want to be doing is having Briggs there. But it seems like Obafemi, I think that some of the writers still think, oh no, he's a heel, despite all reaction. But I don't know. They did what they did, and it's going to be good. These Obafemi matches are basically suck proof. And when it's small versus big, he's just so good at that. And that's Ricky too. So Ricky versus Oba, that's going to happen again in 30 days. But in the meantime, we got Saints versus Briggs. Saints wins in 12:40, Nate.
Yeah, I thought this was a fun match. Like you said, I think it is. It could potentially be Briggs' time. We've talked a lot about Briggs for the last couple of years on this show. Former Evolve champion. He was the last Evolve champion before Evolve became what it is today. I mean, he certainly has what it takes to be a single star. And for the last handful of months, maybe a little bit more than that, I've been on the fence with him as a single star. I mean, he certainly had it, and he's had moments where he's shined, but he's also, I don't know, sometimes felt more like upper mid card than main event. But I don't know. I think he's kind of pulled it together last couple months. I like where they're going with the character. The only thing that I don't like about the character is really that stupid smoking skull he wears on his shoulder during his entrance. But I mean, I think it's a good direction for the character otherwise. I Briggs versus Obafemi does not excite me as much as Briggs versus or Obafemi versus Stark. Obviously, yeah, we've got Saints rather. Wow, Femi and Saints. We've got that coming up at No Mercy. So I don't know. With Briggs laying claim to it, I'm almost half expecting this match where it's set so far out already. I'm almost expecting it to become a triple threat. Briggs somehow getting himself involved in it. And if he doesn't somehow, it does not become a triple threat, then I think Briggs faces whoever whoever wins between Saints and Femi. But I kind of think it's probably going to wind up being a triple threat with either Briggs or Saints being the one to take the pin, maybe for the other one, and I'm not sure. But I'm wondering if I actually said this because Jobin and I went to Heatwave. Hey, go VIP, and you can listen to our car ride home talking about it. She recorded the VIP after show in the car. But I said this to Jobin the other day. I mean, Oba's been the champion for at least since before December, because the last time that I was in that arena for an NXT show was in December, and Femi was still champion. So he's been champion for a while. It might be time for his title reign to come to an end. Maybe we cool him down, take him off TV for a couple months, and then he goes up, maybe debuting at Survivor Series, or maybe they even wait for the Rumble for him or something like that. But I mean, Oba is more than ready for the main roster at this point. I don't want them to move him up without there being something good and valid for him to do up there, and have him just flounder around otherwise. But Ricky, he's certainly got the name value as well. He's got the people behind him. I would like to see him with an NXT title run under his belt before he inevitably goes up as well. It's just a matter of time. So we'll see. I'm not sure where this is going to go just yet with this match in a month, if it's going to become a triple threat or not, and whatnot. There's a lot of time, a lot of story to tell before we get there, but I'm here for it.
You can email us at pwtorchnxt@gmail.com. It's from Kevin Catani. Greetings and salutations. I hope this email finds you well. Despite the women's division being rather cramped, I feel that the marketing and match surrounding Ren Sinclair seem to indicate that they like her. What do you think it will take for her to stand out or make her mark? Secondly, now that we're months into Ricky Saints' tenure in NXT, how would you assess his impact/push/presence? Do you think he's still a priority act, or is he slinking into being one of the guys? Lastly, I'll pose the same questions I asked about Ricky and apply them to Jordan Grace. Thanks as always. Go VIP and listen to 8YB. Officer now. Our hours are now over. The Professor, Kevin B. Catani, PhD. Yeah, they like Ren, but I don't think they want to put her over anybody. I think they're fine with her being a comedic act who takes a lot of pins. And with her being as small as she is, maybe that's all they want her to do. But she gets such a good reaction. I was there at Deadline when she was one of the only people on the show who scored no pins. But they liked her a lot. I know that they like the work, and she's on TV every week, and they let her just be silly every week. She's standing out and making her mark now. I just don't know, Kevin, if she's going to be winning a lot. Ricky Saints' tenure, impact, push, presence. His impact has been mild, but there. His push has been mild, but there. His presence, I think, is kind of vanilla. Sorry, I just do. I think that I had such high hopes for him covering him in NWA, and it's 5 years later now, and I think he's mostly the same. I like him, but I'm not like totally behind him as a championship act. I think he's decent. Now, he's still definitely a priority. There's no way I can argue against that because they just made him the number one contender. So he's clearly a priority. And hopefully the stop start, because there has been some of that, will start again, and they will figure out what they want out of him, and we'll see more of a top act. As for Jordan Grace, I think she's got more going on than I would have assumed, but she keeps being booked in a position where she has to lose, which is, I do not think she should have lost this match to Blake Monroe. They protected the hell out of her, but they told a story that really only worked if the babyface won in the end, and then the babyface didn't win in the end. But to Grace's credit, she came out and she cost Blake Monroe a match tonight, and that's something that can get you booed because it's a heelish thing to do. But the crowd is so along for the ride, and Blake was doing her part well by trying to run out of the entire arena, that they kind of got away with it. So I think they really have something with Jordan, but if a monster loses too much, they're not a monster anymore. So those are my answers to the professor. Nate, go ahead with any or all.
With any and all, Ren Sinclair. I love Ren Sinclair. I don't know what the ceiling is for her, but I don't know. I wish they'd kind of give her a ball and let her run with it for a little bit. She is super entertaining, whether it be on WWE TV or her Instagram stories and things like that. I'm a huge fan of hers. I think they like her. I think, because clearly they keep putting her on TV. She's on TV every single week in some sort of a spot, whether it be a match or backstage angle, usually backstage. But they definitely like her. I don't know. I think it's going to be a little while before they give her any sort of meaningful, like a title shot or any sort of big angle. At least from what I see out of the character right now, like Kelly said, I think they're pretty content with her being somewhat of a comedic character, and then and also used to kind of put people over. And quite frankly, not everybody can be champion. Not everybody can be at the top of the card. You need people all over, up and down the card. So if that is Ren's ceiling, like I don't know. I mean, I still think that's fine. I think she should embrace that. I don't necessarily want to see that for her, but if that is what her ceiling is, that's what her ceiling is, and is, she'll. I think she'll do fine at it. With Ricky Saints, I did not really see a lot of his stuff prior to coming in NXT. I saw a couple of his matches in NWA. I saw a couple of matches in AEW, but I did not pay attention to him, probably nearly as close as Kelly did prior to him coming to NXT. So I kind of like his presentation and everything overall here. Because I don't really have anything to compare it to. I do think that he's cooled off a little bit since his debut. Whether that be intentional or not, I'm not sure. If they've kept him off TV a little bit, or well, not necessarily kept him off TV, but maybe out of some bigger angles to cool him off. Because he's a star. I mean, his music hits. People go nuts. When his music hit the other night at Heatwave after the main event, I mean, the roof blew off that place. It was the second loudest reaction of the night, second only to Chelsea Green, believe it or not, which actually I do believe that. So he's definitely popular. I think, I'm hoping, like Kelly said, he's had a lot of start and stop pushes, and I'm hoping this push right here, right now, with him and Obafemi is a start. And it kind of continues for a little bit. He lost that NXT title pretty quick, so we'll see. Granted, I think he also could be one of those baby faces that is better chasing a title than holding a title. Stone Cold being kind of a prime example, my go-to example for somebody like that. Stone Cold's title reigns. I mean, he might be a 3 or 4 time world champion, but think they total like something less than 200 days or something like that. It's not as long as you'd think because he was better chasing the title than holding the title. I think Ricky might be in that same boat. At least from what I'm.
Rock's total is
Yeah, Rock
really,
too.
really short too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, The Rock too. You know, because those baby faces were always the ones that are super super charismatic, and I think Ricky Saints falls into that category. Yeah, I know obviously lofty comparisons with like Stone Cold and The Rock, but there is no denying that he has that charisma that I think most wrestlers wish they could have. As far as Jordan Grace goes, I pretty much agree with everything Kelly said. I think, you know, where she came in at the same time as Julia and Stephanie Vaquer, you know, they were the priorities, obviously, with, you know, winning titles between the NXT women's title and the North American title. So they were obviously the priorities before going up to the main roster. That kind of maybe hindered her debut a little bit, but even though she's not right up there, you know, looking for a title or anything right now, she's still in a high-profile spot with somebody brand new to the brand in Blake Monroe. And Blake Monroe is all, you know, somebody who's also pretty over right now, and also, you know, some of the company I think wants to kind of push and run with a little bit. Because of that character and how over she is. Again, you know, the in-person reaction for both Blake Monroe and Jordan Grace, but was more so for Blake Monroe. I was really surprised. There were a lot of people in the building on Sunday night that were solidly behind Blake Monroe, booing the hell out of Jordan Grace. You know, Jobin and I talked about it. We did have some people sitting directly behind us who were very vocal. So maybe that's why it seemed a little bit more to me than whatnot. It might have not come off like that on TV.
That crowd sucked, man. I'm so sorry. I hated that crowd.
Hey,
I savaged them throughout the show.
it's, you know,
and
it's a rowdy
crowd. It was not rowdy. It was very quiet. It's the quietest
Really?
crowd I've ever heard in my life.
That wasn't. I'm wondering if it was something up with the way that they had the building mic'd up, because that wasn't what
I
it felt
actually
like in person.
said that because I was like, if this isn't a bad mic job, this is literally the quietest crowd I've ever heard.
The only match that was a little bit on the quieter side, and I talked about this in the VIP show, was the women's triple threat for the TNA Knockouts Championship. The crowd was, I really felt like the crowd did not care about the two outsiders, the two you know, Masha and Dash by Elegance. Otherwise, though, I felt like that crowd was pretty rowdy. Well, I wouldn't say rowdy, but I mean, they were pretty loud through the course of the night. Lowell's a pretty big wrestling city.
They're pretty committed to being the main characters of the show, that's for sure.
And Ryan, yes, not only was there a Canada chant at Heatwave, there were many of them. I don't know if they ended up getting, like, you know, kind of.
Yeah, they did. I called.
They muted it.
No, they didn't mute it.
Okay.
I pointed it out on the in the recap. They definitely did. You know?
Yeah, there was definitely, like, the Team USA was solidly booed throughout that match. Like, you would think that they murdered a baby or something with the reaction that they were getting. Chelsea Green, I mean, Ethan Page got a great reaction, but Chelsea, oh my God, even Iceman, the what does he call himself? The concierge. He ended up getting a chant throughout that like the crowd. Yeah, or sorry, that was a different match. It was a different match. Sorry,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, the crowd wasn't like super into. They were starting to super into that women's triple threat. They're trying to find some other things to do, but I think that was a travesty because that was a great match. But
I thought that the actual loud booing for Tyra and Tavion was like genuinely insulting. Like, that was so childish. I just could not stand that. And now we got, might as well go to that, the Tyra May Steele versus Alba Fire match tonight. One of the many short matches on tonight's show. 4 minutes and 21 seconds. Steele over Fire. To Steele's credit, this has got to break a young baby face, like getting that kind of reaction when they're just getting started. I could see that. I could see somebody being taken off TV to like try to deal with the emotional toll that can take. But to her credit, it just seems like they're fine. And they booked it. They just continued to book it like, hey, we're not going back to Lowell. We're going to get a somewhat more predictable response when we go back home. Paige is back to getting his heel response, which should be because he's a great, great heel. And Steele beat Alba Fire in 421 with, I guess, kind of a roll-up. Was that the roll-up? I didn't write down the finishing moves. I never forget to do that. I didn't write it on any of the 6. But anyway, Steele beat Fire. Of course, this is good. Steele's got some promise, but Alba Fire is just, she's probably the best wrestler who never wins. She's real good, and she just does not get to win singles matches almost ever. So there you go, Steel versus Fire. Since we were already kind of in the, we've been in the vicinity of a lot of these matches, but we were real close to this one. So go ahead with this. Oh yeah, and it looks like Tavion will get a shot at Ethan Page, as far as I can tell. Maybe even in about 4 weeks' time here, because of what Page did to Heights after the match.
Yeah, most likely that's kind of my thought. Is that's going to be probably going to be building that up until No Mercy, unless they have another named show between now and New Mercy, because holy crap, there's a lot of shows coming up, whether it's just NXT or WWE. But so kind of going back to the crowd reaction in Lowell, I think part of it, and this is just me spitballing, but I think part of it too is Lowell is a very left-leaning city. There's been, ICE raids and things like that. I think that city is just, they just don't want to chant USA. And that was something that I had heard from just kind of listening around. I know I fell in that ballpark myself. So it could be part of that. I think a lot of fans just had a fun time chanting and rooting against USA. I really think that was kind of part of it.
I definitely considered that too. It's just that, like, with Tyra May Steele being so fresh, I was just like, man, I hope she can deal with this response, because this is like, there are going to be weird crowds, but she was just like a puppet in what was like a game of a lot of it. Just, I'm glad she did so well tonight, because I don't think I even would have blamed her if she would have had a bad outing or a shaky outing, but she didn't at all.
No, and I even think that she, I think she still like handled the crowd pretty well. Her and Tavion, I think handled all of us in Lowell pretty well. All things considered, it was really, I think it was a combination of what I just said and also Chelsea Green. Chelsea is so over. She had hands down by far the biggest reaction of the night. Not even close to anybody else. So I think it was a combination of all of that. That said, actually, matter of fact, the reaction to Chelsea and Ethan, but Chelsea especially, was so strong that both Jobin and I were saying to each other, and I think we actually did say this on the VIP after show. We were wondering if they changed the match, change the finish of the match, like in the middle of the match, because of how crazy the the crowd was. I doubt it, but it wouldn't surprise me if, come to find out, that was it, because of how over Chelsea was. For this match though tonight, I think Tyra did a great job. She wasn't really phased or anything by the reaction a couple nights ago. She still got a good reaction here tonight. And then obviously it helps being in the ring with somebody like Alba Fire. I mean, Alba Fire is, I think incredibly underrated. As they said on commentary, like 600 and something day reign as NXT UK Women's Champion. Granted, was during the COVID era, and she had like a stretch of a few hundred days where she couldn't defend the title, but we don't talk about that. still, she's a great person to put in there against somebody like Tyra, who's still getting her feet under her, and learning the business and things like that. Tyra looks great. I mean, she's super explosive in the ring. She is. Oh, I thought I lost you.
That is something happens every now and then with my lights that I can't believe it doesn't happen more often during this show.
Kelly just went dark.
I get
and
power
came back.
things in this room, and yeah, if guests are over, they're like, "What the hell just happened?" I'm
What
like,
just happened? It's how horror movies
nothing.
start.
Can't explain it to you.
But Tyra, like seeing her in person, I was surprised at how just like built she really is. I mean, even just looking at her standing next to Tavion, obviously she's shorter than Tavion, but I mean, they might be the same, like their chest might be the same size. Like, she's huge, super powerful, fun to watch. Yeah, I liked this. I liked this match tonight. I think, Alba Fire, as part of the secret Hervis, the focus isn't really on her right now. Her or Piper Niven, they're both kind of bit characters. There was a secret Hervis chant the other night at Heatwave, and they turned around and acknowledged the crowd and like gave little heart, like things with their hands, be like, "Hey, we appreciate you," but they did it like subtly, like as to not be picked up on camera. But yeah, where they're not the main focus, it makes sense. Give Tyra the win here. I would have been shocked if Alba Fire pinned her, to be honest. So yeah, there we go.
I talked about Ricky Saints and Josh Briggs. What I didn't talk about was Ricky Saints and Obafemi having a face-to-face, being attacked by Dark State because they don't have any plan for Dark State other than attack dudes. And then Hank and Tank showed up.
Oh yeah.
Hank and Tank later on said that they want a rematch for the tag team championships. I don't know why they deserve this, but they want one. And she said, "Okay, you guys win an 8-man, or we'll see what happens in the 8-man, and then we'll talk." So it'll be Hank and Tank and Ricky Saints and Obafemi versus Dark State. I believe that's next week. Dark State usually wins these multi-man matches, but I don't know. There are openings for them to win this one, but now that they have a championship, I think they can weather the odd loss here or two. And I think Hank or Tank will pin one of the tag champs and get a rematch, because what once was a bustling tag division seems awfully bare, Nate.
Yeah, I agree. I was trying to think about this the other night. Who is really in the tag division, and outside of Dark State and Hank and Tank, there's Chase U. There's Chase U.
Yeah, Chase U got to be in a Maybelline commercial tonight. That was the extent of their night.
So I mean, like I don't know. I think we either need to see a fresh tag team come up, from developmental. Well, NXT is developmental, but you know what I mean. Finally, put somebody on TV, come from Evolve, something. I don't know, but we need more than just Hank and Tank and Dark State to flesh out this tag division. I think what you were saying with either Hank or Tank getting a pin over Dark State in this match coming up, was it next week?
I think so. They got a lot of shows coming up, but
I know. I couldn't remember. I think it's coming up next week. But yeah, I think they get a shot, pin, and then turn that into a title shot. OTM. What happened to OTM? That is a good question.
I asked that myself many times during the show today. They brought him back with some fanfare, like they threw Chase U to the wolves, and
that was it.
And Andre had a big reaction, and there was that match, and I think that was the only match. They had some hype to the point that I was like, these guys are inevitably the next tag team champions. Instead, the next champions are Dark State, and OTM is nowhere to be found. So I don't know if somebody pumped the brakes on them a second time, but I don't know why they would. I think they're doing perfectly good big guy stuff.
Yeah. But the other thing too, I mean, obviously, Hank and Tank have some beef with Dark State, as does Obafemi and Ricky Saints now. But God, it just Obafemi, Ricky Saints, Hank and Tank. like to put Hank and Tank with the two of them, I don't know. It seems like you're putting like, I don't know why I went to the B team with Bo Dallas and um, Mike McGillick, Kurt Hennig. No, not Hennig. Well, yeah, Hennig, but
Well,
not
is
not
his
Kurt
name.
Hennig.
He put
Curtis
in,
Axel. Curtis Axel.
yeah.
That was his name.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just feels like I don't know. It feels like a much lesser team, but that's really all they got. So whatever. They're trying to get Hank and Tank over. I don't know. I don't really necessarily like the angle, especially in inserting the NXT champion and number one contender in it, but is what it is. It's what I wanted for Dark State, though, because I wanted Dark State to come out, cause chaos and things like that. And that's kind of what they did here tonight. They admittedly Dark State at Heatwave, like they barely squeaked by. They barely squeaked out the victory against Hank and Tank. And it's like when you come in this and you want to have this super dominant faction, do you really want to just have them barely squeak out a victory against Hank and Tank? I love Hank and Tank, but I don't know, I don't feel like they should be positioned as like these super tough badasses, like they're trying to maybe not badass isn't the right word, but super tough like opponent that they're getting booked as. So I don't know, but yeah, those are my thoughts.
All right. Let's go to, since we also kind of talked about him, Ren Sinclair and Kendall Gray versus The Calling. Izzy Dame pins Ren Sinclair after 3:29 in the night's shortest match. So Ren, always on TV, almost never winning. That's too bad. Kendall Gray getting TV time, not being given a character. Not usually the way you want to go with wrestlers, but I mean, if there are people who know she's on Evolve, you got to think they're thinking, gosh, I should watch some Evolve and see what her character is. She doesn't have one. I'm watching it, and I'm telling you, she doesn't have one. She's just a good wrestler, and that's all they've done with her, and they really need to do something now that she's in NXT, seemingly as a true call-up. But Izzy Dame still figuring out, and I think pretty well, how to be a big woman wrestler. And she got the pin here. They didn't hang around on this, but because they love infighting in factions, Tatum saved Izzy, but Izzy ignored Tatum when she was in trouble so she could pick up the win. So the question is, how long does Tatum put up with that? So they are telling that story too. So there you go. Sinclair and Gray under The Calling.
All I can say is poor Tatum. She can't seem to catch a break. You know, she can't have her friends get well, I guess let go, fired or whatever, and then now she thinks she finds a home in The Culling, and nope, they're just using her. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's an interesting story, to be completely honest. I do like the story. And I really like Tatum Paxley and that character. For some reason, I'm drawn to it, and I don't really know why, but I am. I like it. And I'm curious to see what the redemption is for her, because obviously, she's kind of getting pushed around and things with, The Culling and maybe gaslit a little bit. I think it's going to be a slow burn story. I don't think we're going to see her turn on them or them turn on her anytime soon. But I am interested in that. The match itself was okay. Kendall, like I figured Kendall Gray was going to be the partner. It seemed pretty obvious after Kendall was talking with Charlie Dempsey last week or week before, whenever it was. I think it was last week. It seemed pretty obvious that was going to be who the partner was, which I don't know. I mean, if you're going to do a mystery partner, like I feel like the payoff should be somebody with some name value. I guess, yeah, you can do the introduce somebody new, but Kendall Gray's not somebody new. She's already been on NXT before. I think she was part of the Breakout tournament, if I'm not mistaken, but I know she was part of some tournament. yeah, she's obviously level up and things like that. She's been around, so it just kind of seemed like whatever. It predictable considering the angle with her and Charlie Dempsey. So is she going to join the NQCC? Time will tell. I kind of have I have a feeling they're either going to bring the NQCC to an end, or they're going to try and revitalize it by adding a couple people. It's going to be one of the two, but they got to do something with it, because I think just having that faction with just two people in it, especially it being an intergender faction where they can't really team together super often unless they have an intergender opponent, two opponents to face. I think it makes sense to add some more people to it. So maybe Kendall Gray. Don't know who a fourth person will be if they do, but because historically that's been 4 people in QCC. Yeah, there we go. I think that's all I got.
Early on in the show, Ava was talking to Blake Monroe about the stuff she pulled. Kelani Jordan, she also wants a shot at, I believe this was kind of promoted as an NXT North American Women's Championship #1 contenders match. Jordan defeated Monroe in 4:15. Honestly, this match feels like it should be for the big one, and Lola feels like she should be going for the NXT. I wasn't going to linger. I just don't. I don't know that Lola has it, and they sure think so, but I just don't know. But Jordan over Monroe when Jordan Grace made the not really attack. She just played some mind games, chased Monroe to a locked door, and then chased her back to the ring, where she got promptly beat by the split-legged moonsault by Kelani Jordan. 4:15. Kelani, I think, is #1 for NXT. I think that's what this was. But at any rate, the thing with Monroe and Jordan Grace continues, Nate.
Yeah, so obviously, I'm fine with everything continuing between Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe. I wanted to see that continue after the after that finish at Heatwave. I thought the match was great at Heatwave, but I really didn't like the finish. As soon as the ref, because like I was watching the ref never went over and put the turnbuckle pad back on the turnbuckle. So as soon as a minute or two went by and turnbuckle's still exposed, I said to Joe, but I'm like, that's gonna take part in the finish, and of course it did. And yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a shame, I think. But obviously, Blake Monroe got a huge reaction. So did Jordan Grace, but Blake Monroe got a huge reaction at Heatwave. So I'm fine with it continuing that feud. I wanted Jordan to kind of continue chasing Blake Monroe until she gets that win over her, which I think is going to happen, because Jordan Grace can't keep losing. She really can't. This match, I thought this was a lot of fun. Obviously some shenanigans and things with Jordan Grace coming out and chasing her around and whatnot. I don't know if it was for the the #1 contendership or not, but that doesn't ring a bell. But maybe I'm just mistaken. But yeah, Kelani, good to see her get this win. And I mean, if she's not going to be going for the NXT championship, because that's where Lola Vice is going, then try to pick up the belt that you were the inaugural champion of. Why not? Go for it. As far as Lola Vice goes and her not having it, I'm on the fence, because I was with you. I was with you until the other day, watching her in person. I felt like watching her in person, she had more of it, if you will. The charisma is undoubtedly there, and that comes across on TV, no problem. But I felt like her wrestling was even better in person than on TV.
I don't know if you remember this, but I saw her at Deadline.
Yeah,
that was the no ropes match.
Yeah, the underground match.
Remember, I had floor seats, so we didn't see any of it because it was.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
it was a mat grappling match at a venue that had almost entirely floor seating. It was Not ideal. I didn't know who won until they announced it.
Yep, I remember you saying that. Yeah. So I don't know. I think clearly at Triple Mania she got a huge pop at Triple Mania. So I think she's going to be a big star down in AAA. I don't know. My hopes are higher for Lola Vice than they were maybe even 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think she's starting to win me over. I don't think she hasn't quite gotten there yet, for me. But I think I'm starting to see what they already see.
All right, the one other match was a goofy one. Vic talked to Miles Bourne.
Yes, it was.
He was walking up the ramp, and he told the crowd to help him and give him a sign of when he was about to hit his opponent. Now, these masks were clearly completely see-through, but that was fine because this match was really fun and funny.
Well, and it's fine because Miles Bourne's blind anyway.
Right. Yeah. But Lexis King really, really was willing to make an ass of himself, and just bump like he did a tope suicida to nothing. I loved that he was willing to do this. I loved how silly this was. This was a million times better than the Martel versus Roberts match at WrestleMania 7. Because
I think this is the best blindfold match I've ever seen.
Yeah, they just played along with the silliness already inherent in the concept, and they had a heel that wasn't afraid to look like a total ass. But yeah, this went 451. Lexis King did what it was possible that Bourne was going to win this match, but I thought it was more likely that King would cheat to win in some way, and he did. He found the ref using his beard, thumbed the ref in the eye, then opened up his mask, kicked Bourne in the nethers, and then hit the coronation. So it was what you did. So Bourne completely protected, and King reestablishes that he's just a piece of crap who will do absolutely anything. I just loved this, and yeah, this was easily, like, the blindfold match is consistently one of the worst matches in wrestling. This one was fantastic. I loved this stupidity, all of it.
So what we learned tonight, everybody, is Miles Bourne is a fairy. And I mean like Tinkerbell, because that's what he asked. He asked, just like Tinkerbell asked all of us to clap to give her energy. That's all I could think of when Miles Bourne was asking us to root for him and stuff. I'm like, Miles Bourne's Tinkerbell. All right, got it. I don't know. From that moment of him asking everybody to just cheer and him to feed off the energy and the vibrations and everything, I knew I was going to love this match. It was, I don't know why, because like something like that usually would automatically make me go like roll my eyes or whatever, but for some reason it being Miles Bourne, it makes sense. It worked. And then, like I said, I think this is probably the best blindfold match I've ever seen. When they announced that this was going to be a blindfold match at Heatwave, I was like, oh God. And there was a collective groan throughout the Lowell Memorial Auditorium when they said blindfold match. Everybody was just like, ugh. They nailed it. I think first off, having it be a short match was key because there's only so much, you can do in a blindfold match before it gets a little bit old. So I think leaving it at that 4 minutes, 30-second mark or whatever it was a great move. But then, like you said, Lexis King, he did not mind. He went out there, made himself look like an absolute ass. The tope through the ropes to nobody. It was great. It was absolutely great. And like you said, it reestablishes, or the finish anyway, helps to reestablish Lexis King as that Weasley, kind of shitty little heel, which he started to do last week when he, maced Miles Bourne, or sprayed him, whatever that spray was that apparently is still having an effect on Miles Bourne an entire week later.
Rick Martel's arrogance.
Yes,
Rick
so
Martel's arrogance.
I don't know. I think this was really good. I obviously this is just a stepping stone in the story of Lexis King and Miles Bourne. There's going to be more after this, especially considering the finish here. They'll probably let this go all the way to No Mercy, and I'm kind of expecting would see this match either to be on the No Mercy card or to have this feud kind of end around No Mercy, whether it be on the show proper or not. But and then I think something I'm hoping some bigger and better for Miles Bourne, maybe a shot at the North American title or something like that, depending on what Ethan Page is up to or whoever the champion happens to be when he's done with Lexis King.
Normally I get to the end and there's like a whole bunch of segments to talk about. A weird foible of this episode is that there weren't really any backstage segments that didn't involve one of tonight's matches. Like there wasn't anything that was just purely for the future. Like it all set up stuff or had to do with stuff with tonight. The only other thing we didn't really talk about was the Zaruka and Lola, maybe it's Maybelline spot, but we don't really have to. And
Kelly,
then
I've been meaning to ask you, is that Maybelline?
No, I was born with it. The speed tournament will be Candice LeRae, Lainey Reed, Fabi Apache, and Zaya Brookside. And across many brands, apparently Lainey Reed counts as NXT, even though she's just kind of been hanging around. Fabi Apache from AAA, Zaya Brookside. I didn't know she was in TNA. Good for her. Yep. I had no idea she made it back across the pond after being a semi-important person in NXT UK. I
think she's been in TNA for at least a year or so now, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, good for her. I thought, not watching it at all. But Zaya was all right, and she is the daughter of one of the most respected wrestling teachers there is, Robbie Brookside. So it always kind of surprised me that she didn't get a longer amount of time. So those four will be in a speed tournament. The matches in that have a cap of 3 minutes, but a championship match has a cap of 5 minutes. So that they go. Zaya Brookside is in a tag team with former Zia Lee. Are you serious?
Yeah. Yep. Lee. What is her name? Lee Yang. Oh God, Lee Yang Lee or something. I can't remember what her name is. Zia Lee. But yeah, they've been in a tag team for a while. I just actually looked it up. She being Zaya Brookside's been in TNA since January of 24.
Who's gonna joke that they were together? And they are. Ryan Slorio says, you guys going to talk about Booker's commentary during Lola's hip attack? Thankfully, I did not hear it. I don't know how I missed it, but whatever he said during those I'm a Latina booty smacks, I don't know. I don't know what he said. I feel like I can kind of guess because that's a thirsty dude.
I don't remember exactly what he said, but I'm sure he said what a lot of the people around me were thinking in Lowell the other night.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so anything on the fact that the Speed Championships are coming to this brand, Nate?
Why? That's all I got to say. I don't know. I have not watched Speed. I've not seen a single WWE Speed show, match, anything. Apparently nobody else did either. So there's that. Or at least most people didn't. I don't know. I mean, they don't need another title. They really don't need more titles on NXT, especially NXT with the smaller roster. I understand bringing it to NXT rather than the main roster because it is such a unique concept. So put it down in developmental, see if it works, and then if it does work, maybe bring it up to the main roster. But I see this as more of a gimmick type of a thing than anything, just to kind of hold on to the Speed titles and see if they can salvage them after this deal with Twitter expired or was nullified or whatever. If we're still talking about Speed on NXT in a year, I will be surprised.
Steve Repsher says Speed is taking the place of the Heritage Cup, and then he types that he ducks probably because he knows how much I like the Heritage Cup.
Both of us
Yeah.
coming for you, Steve.
Who's the Heritage Cup champion?
Noam Dar, isn't it?
No, he got stripped because he was injured.
Oh, right. Who is the Heritage? I gotta look it up.
They had a match to fill it. Oh my God.
Oh, Stacks.
Stacks. Okay, Stacks appeared in this episode. All he got to do was flirt with Ariana Grace. Although, if you only get to do one thing on a show, flirting with Ariana Grace is not a really bad thing to have to do in that particular show.
Just keep your eye out for the Cobra. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my. Yeah. Stacks playing with fire. He survived the mob, but he won't survive the Cobra. So there's my 90s action movie hype tagline, apparently, that I did not mean to do. Okay, I believe that is our show. I am Kelly Wells. You can find me on Blue Sky as other Kelly Wells and perhaps SpookyMilk.games on Threads. I think that's correct. I think that's it.
Ooh, Steve's got a great idea. We should.
Okay.
We should.
With NXT, yeah. Go ahead.
With NXT Full Sail in 3 weeks, do we need to push the activate Tom Stout button? I don't know. Maybe.
Good question. Tom can get to one venue as well as the other. I know that he stopped during COVID and then did not make a point. He didn't make a huge point to go to shows for a while after that. Because, when they're in town all the time, I guess there's, maybe diminishing returns. And he would just go to see things like if somebody he really liked had a championship match or something like that. But I'll ask him if the fact that it's going to Full Sail is of interest to him. I will maybe ask him that on the podcast tomorrow, which reminds me, I actually have a show 8 years back to watch before tomorrow. So I got to do that after this too. Okay, Nate, that really is the show. I am that person on those sites, Nate.
I'm Nate. You can catch me here on Tuesdays.
All right. Cheers, and we will see you in 7.
Kelly, go get your cookie.
Nobody's gonna